Shalom, welcome to Rob on the Rock. I'm Rob Vanoff, and for this week's Torah portion, which is Tetze, I have a small fragment from a paleo-Hebrew Deuteronomy manuscript dating to the Hasmonean era. So this is pretty old. This predates, therefore, the Qumran community. This was written not at Qumran, elsewhere, probably in Jerusalem or somewhere, and brought to the Qumran community and put in their library at some point later, after it was already old. Did it contain the whole text of Deuteronomy? Don't know, but sadly the letters are fainted somewhat, but it was written with a very elegant style. You can see the nice, beautiful spacing. And the verse that we're going to look at, I have here, I think this was the ESV, or that's right, I modified it because the word order was kind of strange. But I modified it not because it was bad, but because I wanted to show with highlighter the fragment, what's extant in the fragment. So for example, if we're looking up here and here and here, you're going to see that's what we see. There shall not be on a woman, and on a man shall not wear. You see how I've got that in bold, a woman's cloak, an abomination to Adonai your God, whoever does these things before you on the way in any tree. So these are really, really faded. And so what I want to do is just zoom in here, and we're going to look and take apart the paleo-Hebrew text here that is at least a little bit legible. But first, let's use the Sefaria website to read through the passage. So here we go. We're using sefaria.org. This is Deuteronomy 22, starting with verse Hey, or verse 5. It says, Lo yehye kli gever al isha, velo yilbash gever simlat isha, ki to'avat Adonai Elohecha kol oseh ele. So, lo yihye means there will not be, literally, there will not be a garment of a male, kali gever, a garment of a gever, who's a male, al isha, upon a woman. Velo yilbash gever, and here gever is the subject. Lo yilbash gever means a man will not don, a man shall not wear simlat isha, a woman's cloak, a cloak of an isha. Ki to'avat Adonai Elohecha, because for to'ava is an abomination. To'avat Adonai Elohecha, abomination of the Lord your God. Kol oseh ele, anyone who does these things. So kol oseh is masculine, but it covers both masculine and feminine because it says lo yehye kli gever al isha, a one who does this. So that means it implies a woman who would do this is an abomination, but also it could be a man who would, since it says a garment will not be on a woman, that a man should not put that on a woman either. Kol oseh ele. So that's the end of verse 5. So clear Hebrew, we have masculine gender, feminine gender. We have the word gever for man, isha for woman. Let's continue here. The next verse is verse Vav. Ki ikale kan tzipor lefanecha baderech b'kol eitz o al haaretz אפרוחים או ביצים, והאם רובצת על האפרוחים או על הביצים. לא תיקח האם על הבנים. It says, כי יקרא כאן ציפור, if a nest of a כאן ציפור, a nest of a bird is encountered before you, לפניך, בדרך, along the way. So that means a person's walking along the way and they encounter a bird's nest. It says b'chol etz, that means in any tree, o al haaretz, or on the ground. So the nest could be either in a tree or on the ground. And then it says efrochim o veitzim. Efrochim o veitzim. So that just simply means the efrochim are young and the veitzim are eggs. So we have two lists with an or. We have bechol etz, in any tree, o, aleph vav, that's the word or, al haaretz. So it could be either situation. And then we have another list with an either or, efrochim o veitzim. Doesn't matter if they're eggs, youth, efrochim, or veitzim, eggs. V'ha'em, the mother, rovetzet al ha'efrochim, o al ha'beitzim. And the mother is rovetzet, that is crouching or hovering over. Beautiful image here of a mother protecting or hovering over either young little hatchlings or al beitzim. So a beitzim would be eggs that have not yet hatched. So in any of these situations, in a nest in a tree or on the ground, and the mother is over them, and that would cover either the efrochim, the young, or the eggs. It doesn't matter. It says, lo tikach, you will not take the mother, al habanim. So some say al habanim just means with here. You shall not take the mother with habanim. So the banim are either the efrochim or the beitzim. They're all called sons. But banim, it doesn't necessarily mean male here. It just means her children, whether they are hatched or not. You shall not take the mother, literally al, if we take it as over, but it likely more means with. You shall not take them together. And it goes on to say, to clarify, with an infinitive absolute, imperative, shaleach teshalach. You shall most certainly send away, or cause to go away, et ha'em, the mother. You shall most certainly cause the mother to flee. Ve'et habanim, but the banim, that is whether they are efrochim, youth, or younglings, or eggs, tikachlach, you may take for yourself. Lema'an yitavlach, in order that it will be well with you. Yitavlach, that's from tov. It will go well, go good for you. Ve'ha'arakta yamim, and your days will be lengthened. You will lengthen, literally, you will lengthen your days. And this parallels the promise of honoring father and mother. And even the Apostle Paul cites this in Ephesians, saying this is a commandment with a promise. Honor your father and your mother, and it will go well with you, and you may live long on the earth. That this language here matches that. And so some have thought, is there something to do with an echo of the honoring of the parents with the sending away of the mother? In any case, one important point is that it is in the power. So the natural world here, the animal world, is vulnerable to the authority and dominion of the human. And the human is to refrain, is to check his or her own power. So it's okay to take and benefit from the situation, but you do not take both. The living long in the earth, lengthening your days, and it going well with you is a good thing that is desirable, and that pertains in some regard that we learn in this commandment, this mitzvah, is a refraining from using your power to, and in this case, it would be to destroy like 2 generations, right? So there's an encouragement of allowing the mother to go and have more babies, etc. So there is a take only what you need and have some sort of sense of longer life. Have a horizon of interpretation for any action beyond the moment, beyond what you are able to do in the moment. Rather, live a life of constraint, a life that is constrained by a vision of what is good in the long run, and that this is in alignment with the Torah. Okay, now that we've just read through this, now I might bring this back up, but let's look at our Hebrew text here from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this is our fragment, and it dates, like I said, to the Hasmonean area. And I'm not going to try to pick out all the letters, although it is possible, and scholars have already done this. One place is just, we have the word Isha here, and it's admittedly very hard to see. All we see is a little squiggle here, and we see a little squiggle here, and then we see a squiggle here. And this is, ultimately, this is the letter Aleph, like that, and the letter Sheen. Oops. Let me get rid of that and try that again. And then a letter Hey, which is a little more readable. And in our block script, we would write it like this. Isha. Isha. And it would be vocalized with a hirik and a dagesh, the sheen, and then a kamatz, like that. Isha. And this is from Deuteronomy 2:5. Lo yechyeh keli gever al isha, on a woman. And then it continues here. We see a vav and a lamed and another aleph. So this is ve lo, like that. And this is, we would vocalize that with a shava and a cholam. Velo yilbash gever simlat isha. And a man will not don a woman's cloak. We have velo, and then we have a yod here, and a lamed. And this is from yilbash. Yod, lamed, bet, shin. And the vocalization would be, it's just a call. So it's a hirik with a shava, dagesh, and a patach. Yilbash. Lo yilbash gever. A man will not don. But of course, that's broken off. Let's continue. So that's from Deuteronomy 22:5. And then the next bit we have here is from our next section. It is, if I go back to our Sefaria, is where it says, we don't see, it's kito avat, for abomination. Adonai Yod, it says Yod Hevave Elohecha Kol Ose Ele. Well, we see just the little bit of the end of verse 5 here. So here we have a vav and a hey. So that means what we had here was a yod and a hey, vav hey. So that's from Adonai, yod hey vav hey. Then we have Elohecha. So we have an aleph, lamed, hey, yod, and a kaf. So this is aleph, lamed, hey, yod, kaf. We would put a kaf sofit, Adonai Elohecha. And then it says we'd have another kaf, lamed, and that's kol, which means all who does. Kol, and then we have an ayin. Let me do that again. Their ayin is sometimes more triangular. Interestingly, vav, sheen / seen, we would read a seen here. And then a part of a hey we're presuming is here, is broken. But it would be ayin, samic, hey in the Masoretic Text, with a cholam like that, and a tzere, oseh. But what we see here, interestingly, is use of a vowel, the vav, oseh, with a cholam, we would presume, oseh. So this letter, if I can change color and put it in red here, this letter here is a vav, which does not occur in the Masoretic Text. It's the same meaning, oseh, doing. But we see here, it's not present in the Masoretic Text, but is present here in this. So there's no change in meaning, but it does throw off, for example, if someone's into those equidistant letters that like Chuck Missler promoted and others in the 80s, where they were using computers to try to find secret codes in the Torah by counting letters. Well, all you have is one letter added like this that changes no meaning at all. Yet it would throw off all those kinds of counting sequences. So just something to think about there. So this is then the end of verse 5. And then we go on to verse 6. And let me scroll up here a little bit. And this is even harder to see, but basically if we go to let's go back to our Sepharia here, and what we're going to see is this passage lefanecha, before you baderech, and then it says behol etz, on any tree. And so what we see is just this little section from the very next verse. So let's go back there and we'll see if we can tease these out. I'm dependent on the other scholars that have gone before me that have actually transcribed this and have actually inspected these firsthand. I'm drawing these from the Dead Sea Scrolls digital image library, which is online. But we have a lamed here. We have a pei, and then a nun, a yod, and a kaf. So this is lefanecha. We would put like that. Lefanecha. Then we have a bet. We have a dalet. We have a resh. And then we have another kaf. And that's ba, derek. So far it's the, just like we see in the, in terms of letters, it's just like the Masoretic Text. Lefanecha, before you, ba, de, that's supposed to be a dalet, and then it's a segelet, ba, derek, along the way. And then we have bet, another bet. We have another kaf. My kaf kind of looks like a mem there. The way they make these are kind of strange. And then a lamed, bekol. And presumably this is the word eitz right here. Here you can barely see an ayin. Bekol eitz. So there you have it. We see enough in this manuscript to identify this as this section, that what we're looking at here is in fact from Deuteronomy 22, 5 through 6. And there are other fragments from this same roll that are also from passages that are in tangent to this one. So there you go, another ancient manuscript. We look at the Hebrew text as witnessed in very, very ancient artifacts. This one, if we accept the scholars, Dead Sea Scroll scholars' presumption as recorded here on the Dead Sea Scroll website to be Hasmonean, that is really nice and old. And so that would be after the Hanukkah, right? After Hanukkah, after the Maccabean revolt and the reclaiming of the temple, but before the Roman era. So it could be anywhere, from, mid-2nd century BC. So when you think about it, what's really cool is that this manuscript would have been already, when Yeshua was born, already possibly 150 years old. That it was already 150 years old. That it was likely already 200 years old when the temple was destroyed. Isn't that crazy to think 200 years old already when the temple was destroyed? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this other installment in our weekly parashah looking at ancient Torah manuscripts. I'm Rob Vanoff with Rob on the Rock.